Hey guys, now we're back after a great Mexican lunch, and I'm with Herbie May, who's Director of Engineering and R&D here at Remo, and we're on the side of the factory that produces shells, amongst other things. Herbie, good to see you again.
Great to see you too, man. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. Now, tell me about what's going on behind us.
Okay, what we have behind us are the raw materials that make up drum shells. We basically have two types of materials. We have one type of material. It's called a phenolic material, and it's very hard and very rigid. If you can equate it to something like a maple shell. And then the other type of material we have is more of a recycled material. You can sort of equate that to like a Philippine mahogany, something sort of that would be a lot lighter type of wood. Okay, so the first type is this phenolic, and I'll show you it's right here. The actual raw materials come to us in rolls, which sort of varies from what you would find in a traditional wood shell. Traditional wood shells are veneers that are peeled off. This is actually wood fiber, but it has a phenolic resin in it. And you can see if I crack it like that, it's really hard and brittle. And what we do is we take this material, we wind it into a convolute shell, and then we bake it. And when it comes out from the oven, it's as hard as a piece of maple, actually a little bit harder. Okay, so once we have our raw materials, that raw material is then wrapped around a mandrel. And if you look here, there's that long aluminum is our mandrel, and it looks like this is about a 12-inch diameter shell. So basically our shells are wrapped on this mandrel to a height of 66 inches. Then what we do after that is we take it and we cut it into the various lengths. Okay, this is one of the drum shells that's been cured in the oven. It's then been sanded, the outside, so you can feel the sanded.
Oh, yeah.
This is the overlap seam that's feathered down, almost like a lap joint in some of the traditional steam bent instruments where you have that.
Cut the edges and route it.
The edges are routed, we sand the inside and we route the inside. So you can see it's just basically like a wood shell. And in this case, where you have a plywood shell, where a lot of times the grain runs this way and then this way, you know, a lot of times you see dropouts at the top because of the plywood. With this is totally flat. So that's one of the good things about our shell is there's no open grain really. It's all solid.
And it's lacquered on the inside. What is this?
Yeah, that's a coating that we use. It's a sealer. It's basically like a lacquer. But the unique thing about this is you can hear it. And you can feel it. If you just do that, you feel how much it vibrates. And that's the difference between the raw shell and then the cooked shell. And like I said, we get pitch out of this depending on the thickness. We can change the resin system to get a little higher pitch or a lower pitch. And for the most part, I've done a lot of research on the pitches of the shells and how ours compare to others, and they're pretty close. I mean, when we load the resin system up, you can get a really nice pitch like you get from a maple shell.
I see. Interesting. So this, in case you guys don't know, is a V-drum shell. Of course, Remo makes all the V-drum shells, and this is a 10-inch V-drum tone. It's already got all the holes punched for the lugs and the tone mount. And this material is actually called acousticon.
Right, that's correct. And the phenolic material that I shared with you earlier is called advanced acousticon. Advanced acousticon, what we use that for is shells that need to have more resin. It's like in a Gold Crown series drums. You know, most of the time you want that hardness, so you get a lot of resonance. You put it on the suspension system. It's interesting that some of our drums we don't necessarily want all that resonance. I'll give you an example, like a djembe. If you take a traditional African djembe, when you're playing that with your hands, you don't necessarily want it to ring forever and have a lot of real ringy-pingy sort of a sound. You want it to be warm. So in a lot of cases, we don't load those shells up with a lot of resin because that just creates a much more ringy instrument. When we first were getting into world percussion products, we found out that we actually didn't want that sort of drum set attitude about it. You know, most of the time you want a tom that play, you ring runs forever, and then you can turn it down with the different dampening mechanisms, right? But with a Jimmy, you don't want all that. You want it to be pretty dry, right off the bat.
Yeah. So what I find really cool is these machines. For example, this machine, you've seen this probably in other factory tours when lug holes have to be drilled or tom mount holes have to be drilled. There's like a CNC machine that is programmed to find the right spot on the shell and then drill here, and then it turns the sand, and then it drills here, and so this machine is different, right?
This machine basically does everything in one shot. This machine, you drop the shell on, you hit the start button, and all the different punches come in at one time, and it
comes in from all sides, so
right.
It's a super fast process.
Right. It does a complete shell in just a couple of seconds.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, from this raw shell, what's the next step in production? Painting or covering?
Correct. We do painting in this area as well as covering. Our coverings involve maple veneers. Our coverings have, we put some mylar type coverings on the outside. We do printed fabric coverings, which you'll see more on the board percussion. And then we do sort of a simulated wood. Some of the Piper drums and some of the flame drums.
And lacquer.
And lacquer, we do that as well. We do two types of coatings. We have a UV coating, and we have just a traditional spray coating.
Right. So that's all this area.
Correct. This is a machine we just do the covering. The covering is applied here. These rollers will pinch it and rotate.
Right.
So what we have here is after the maple wood veneer has been applied, we apply a green stain to it,
right,
and then a UV finish on it.
Okay.
And our UV finish is done instantaneous. This machine, what we do here, is you apply the shell there, you coat the shell, you put it on this mandrel which rotates, this UV light passes over and cures it. And
right.
This is like a welder's shield so you can see the process happen.
Okay.
We can actually see it, we can try it.
And of course it's really awesome because every once in a while in your lunch break, you can get in there and get a killer 10 like in a second.
2 seconds.
This is beautiful. This is the shell of a Taika drum, right?
Correct. Advanced acousticon, so you can see how hard it is.
Yeah. And it's beefy. It's really heavy.
Right. And this was finished in the UV curing booth that we just looked at.
Right.
So we can get a very, very high gloss finish. And most of the time we can set that back.
Beautiful. Check it out. So this, of course, is a V-drum shell, and it's very interesting for me as a V-drum artist also to see how they're made. And Remo, like I said earlier, make, of course, all the shells. They put the covering on the shell here. They put this, what do you call this?
It's a molded rubber.
Molded rubber ring on the bottom of the shell. And, of course, Remo also make the mesh heads for all V-drums. And after putting the covering on, you get assembled here, is that
right? The hardware gets assembled here in this area, just like a number of other drums. We have a rose bridge snare drum. Any of these things.
Wow, beautiful.
After the covering's been put on, it's been routed. Everything's basically ready to go.
Right.
Just the hardware is put on fasteners and so
Sure. And that's all happening in this area.
Right.
So this is a bongo shell, right?
Right. And this particular shell actually has a fabric covering on it. We do the coverings, we do the wood veneer,
right,
and we do some that we put fabrics on. And that's what this is. We can do some really unique patterns with the fabric, and again, that's all done here in house.
Right.
So once we put a fabric on it, then we use a type of coating on it, which goes through this booth here. And the unique thing about the booth is that you can spray it. You can spray the drum shell over here, and it's sort of like a serpentine sort of a unit here. It goes around in through these ultraviolet, not ultraviolet, but infrared chambers.
Okay.
And so the infrared hits it, and when it comes out, it's dry. And then it comes back around, so you can immediately for the second coat on.
Oh.
So you're not waiting hours to dry.
Sure.
It's pretty quick.
Saves a lot of time.
Saves a lot of time.
Wow, these are beautiful. What's this?
Those are our new drum tables for this year.
Drum tables?
Drum tables.
So we're staying with the kitchen theme. We have the
Exactly,
kitchen with
donuts.
the drums,
Yeah.
and here are the drum tables. That's
Right.
awesome.
Yeah, mainly music therapists are really getting into drum tables.
Okay.
And Remo Belly himself has really been getting into drum tables lately. And so what you see here are sizes 22, 30, and 40 inch
Wow.
in diameter.
Okay.
And these are really cool because I think we have some of them in R&D that you can actually get under them, and the vibrations you can actually like
Feel
see
it.
your shirt move.
Oh,
The
really?
vibrations are so intense. Yeah.
Wow.
But they have a pedestal,
Oh, I see.
a crossbar with a pedestal. We have a tunable version which is here.
Right.
You just put a wrench through there and it pushes up on this sort of this bearing edge on the
Okay.
bottom. So you can actually tune it.
And are they meant to be played with sticks? And sticks are hands, everything?
Mainly mallets, softer mallets, because it's done a little bit more in a hospital setting.
Okay.
Tons of music therapists, Alzheimer's patients, you name it. And,
Okay.
and so most of the mallets that are being used are sort of soft mallets.
Yeah.
But between your hands and the soft mallets is generally
Beautiful.
where it's
They look gorgeous.
Yeah.
Beautiful designs.
And there's quite a bit of science. I'll have to show you a little bit later. We put a number of different kinds of fabrics and materials on the top,
Yeah.
almost like a CS head.
Like a controlled sound thing
Right.
from
What
muffling?
it does is it keeps the head from twisting, and it makes the sort of the trampoline, the fundamental note, the big low note
Right.
happen.
Yeah.
And so that's the whole concept behind it. It's
Beautiful.
really cool.
What does the NSL stand for?
Not so loud.
Oh, really? I like it. Keep it simple. Now, we were talking about the suntan earlier, and of course, what goes really well with an awesome suntan? The ocean, right? So check this out.
Right?
Check this out. It's an ocean drone. Awesome.
We
And,
actually have surf in Valencia.
oh, really?
Little did you know.
Beautiful. But I want to talk about this. This is a really incredible thing that you guys should see, and it just shows how much detail and work and analyzing goes into designing, drums and drum heads. And Herbie, of course, is at the forefront of this kind of experimentation. This is really a beautiful example of how intricate and how detailed your research is.
Right.
Can you talk about what's going on here?
Sure. We can. Let's try to get a light in here. Hang on a second.
It looks good on camera, I think. you can see
Does it look good? Okay.
Yeah.
So we basically have a microphone at the bottom
Yeah.
where it
See
comes
down
out.
here?
You can see down here. And then we have a microphone at the top. Basically,
Yeah.
this is something that gives you repeatability. You pull it back to a predetermined height and you let it go.
Right.
And if there was a drum head on there, obviously that was
So
sound.
this guarantees that every stroke is played exactly at the same volume with the same mass and intensity.
Correct. And
So
hit in
there's-
the same way.
There's
If
no
you were-
variation.
Correct. And if you were to just play, a regular stroke, you may think you're hitting exactly the same way, but generally
You're not. Exactly.
Right? And so what we do here is we can analyze what pitch comes off of the different types of heads that we have, the different types of film, and we can also analyze how long the bass tones ring and what frequency that bass tone is.
Right.
And that's determined by the shape of this bowl and by the diameter of this.
Yeah.
It's that sort of a deal. So that's where the resonant comes from, the bass. And,
And
so
then-
we can analyze it.
And you obviously you mic it. You import it into Melodyne, for example.
Melodyne, Wavelab is another great program. There's so many really cool programs out there. And now the bit rate, I mean, in the old days, 16-bit was fine and dandy, but now the bit rates are going, 120
Exactly.
or 64 or whatever.
So when you mic it, you can then see on the computer on the waveform exactly, or in Melodyne, what kind of frequencies are dominant of that particular drum head, the size and shape of the bowl and opening, and it gives Herbie a really clear idea of how to manipulate, the sound of the drum. So if you want less bass frequency, if you play more intricate patterns, you could change the shape of the bowl or make the opening bigger or smaller.
Correct.
To sort of decrease the amount of bottom end, for example. In a drum.
And change
So-
the film, change the top, change
Exactly.
the film. And we basically take the drumhead knowledge from, from Western style drums, whether that be snare drums or toms or even timpani. We can take an animal skin timpani head, and you can see exactly how long it resonates, what's the dominant frequencies, why is this particular head easier to tune, because this fundamental resonates a little bit more than others. So again, the gear and the technology is incredible, but it just helps us in so many ways.
It's science.
Science!
So, Remo also makes hats. Look. Now this is of course, this is a mini, no, it's a Doombeck, isn't it?
Right.
It's a Doombeck shell, and this is a really awesome finish. It looks like it's really got a lot of sheen, and it's very shiny. What is it?
Well, this is our metallized finish that we put a clear coat on, which was done in the booth that we looked at, the conveyorized booth. And then what's happening next is this is what we call an internal tune Doombeck.
Yeah.
The shell, this particular molded part goes inside of the shell, and that becomes the tuning fixture.
Right.
This one will be what we call an external, and you have these components that then go on the bottom side, like this.
Yeah.
And then you would have the counter hoop in the head that then comes down.
I see.
So in essence, it's almost like a suspended kind of
free floating
sort
hoop
of
or something,
thing, right? But that's been done for hundreds, if not thousands, of years.
Yeah.
But that's what our Doombecks are: internal and external.
Beautiful. Me. So, Herbie.
Yeah.
I think this is something new.
Absolutely.
And I want to know about it. What's going on here?
This is called Versa. This is a patented process that we have, and it makes a replaceable head simple and easy just by pressing it down. This looks very, very simple, but in essence, what this is a tapered coupling here. This is tapered on one side, and this is tapered on the other side.
Right.
So what happens is when you just push that down like that, it totally seals it. And so you have get all the bass coming, plus you get the high end. Okay, and then we just have a little wrench that then just lifts off, lifts it right back off.
Okay, so this is basically you make a frame drum, a small frame drum that attaches to a shell, and it allows you to replace drum heads, use them in different ways,
and stack the drums. If you were doing a drum circle, and instead of having 6 or 8 drums that take up the whole back of your car, you can take the heads off in a second, stack the shells.
Smart.
Stack the shells, and then pop the heads back on just like that.
That's genius.
And feel how light the shell is.
Oh wow. That's incredible.
So that's Versa for this year. We launched this last year. This is a 13-inch size. We now have a 9 and an 11.
Right.
And the djembes also will nest inside of these two binos.
Wow.
So you can. It's not just the Ashiko drum. It's a djembe Versa djembe and a Versa tubano.
And I just noticed you also make obviously regular drum heads and almost like practice
Right, but not so loud.
The not so loud hits.
Exactly.
And I don't know, obviously you can hear the difference. Check this out. This is fantastic. It's like a practice pad for a hand percussion. That's fantastic. Do it.
For testing.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So
now we're in another area of the factory here, and this is going to be very interesting because it shows how much researching goes into durability tests and so on and so forth.
Correct.
So let us know what's going on.
Well, it shows what we have here. It gives us values, just like we were talking about in the sound sampling. You can look at what you're hearing.
Right.
Here you can see what the properties of the various materials are, whether that be mylar or aluminum or resin systems. And so here's just a quick example of what we would do here on the machine. This will be your drum set bearing edge. You put the head on it. This would be your counter hoop.
Right.
Put that on there. What we do then is we put that in our machine here.
Right.
And then this platen comes down onto that counter hoop, and then we can go, let's say a typical drum head tension is about 5,000 pounds for a snare drum. Okay?
Right, okay.
So what we do here, and we know that typically that value of the glue is going to hold 7,000 pounds easy. So
Yeah.
we don't really have anything to worry about as far as that head breaking prematurely.
Of course.
Now in the marching world, where you have Kevlar heads, and you have
tension heads.
Technora, those go up to 30,000 pounds of load.
Wow.
So machines like this are just incredibly valuable for
Yeah.
giving us that information.
Wow.
And so what we do is we test heads constantly, all the time. We test different kinds of materials, different sorts of
Right.
resins.
Yeah.
And machines like this are not cheap, but
They're
you
worth
know,
it.
But we have to have it because we don't just buy other types of materials
Sure.
outside based on what their requirements are.
Absolutely.
We base it off of our requirements, and we can test it.
Yeah, incredible. If you don't know the numbers, doesn't matter. This
Yeah.
can be edited out. But in case you know, do you know what the sort of average sort of tension on, say, a floor tom or a bass drum would be?
Yeah,
If a snare drum is 5,000 pounds,
yeah.
is that per 14 inch or
Yeah.
per square inch or something?
No,
per
it's
14?
not right. It's
per
not PSI. It's pound load. In other words, it would be a 2-ton, like a car sitting on. You'd be amazed at how strong my
Right,
motor is.
5,000 pounds.
Of load.
load.
If you had a 5,000 pound weight and
Yeah.
it was sitting on it, that's
Wow,
that's
that's
what it would
incredible.
take.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
So, and of course, the Kevlar head's much more.
Right.
And in your experience, when a drum head fails, like
Right.
it breaks,
Right.
what would be the first point if there was failure and you put like 30,000 on a snare drum head, which is
Right.
like the equivalent of a high
Right.
tension head? Where would it would come unglued, come out of the glue?
Correct.
Or would the mylar go first, or would the glue and crimping go first?
And that's a great question.
You're welcome.
The mylar typically will go first here because the glue and the aluminum is stronger than the actual mylar.
Okay.
Now that's not the case when you have a marching head like the
Kevlar.
Okay, and in that case we've gone through a number of different kinds of crimp styles where the film is done like a tucked conga head almost. So the film comes down. It goes around.
Like the U shape?
Right.
Yeah.
It goes up around in a U shape and comes back around, and then the counter hoop goes down.
Right.
And like in a traditional conga drum or an African djembe, the more pressure you put on that ring, the stronger it holds it down because
Sure.
it's encapsulated.
Right.
So they vary. Different types of mylar vary. I mean, typically we have 3, 5, 7. 10, 14 mil, okay?
Okay.
And each has their own properties.
Strength.
strength
Which one
properties.
of the Remo drum heads
Yeah.
is the most durable? Is that a two-layer, obviously a two-ply head would be a pinstripe
Yeah,
stripe, or?
it would probably be the X series heads that we have because we have 14 mils of a single ply 14 mil of mylar.
Oh,
very,
really?
very thick head.
Which one is that? Which series?
That's the X series heads.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then again, a few specs on the heads that for me are very interesting. The thinnest head is a diplomat.
Yeah,
The next one up thickness-wise is an ambassador.
correct.
Then you have
Emperor,
Emperor,
pinstripe.
Ambassador X.
but those are two-ply.
Right,
So single ply would be the thinnest would be a diplomat, and the next one is an ambassador.
right.
All above that are combinations of the two, correct?
Mhm,
So a diplomat, an emperor would be a diplomat and an ambassador, correct?
Two diplomats put together.
Two diplomats.
2.7 or 7.5 put together.
And a pinstripe would be
The same.
the same.
The difference in the pinstripe is just the weighted coating around the outside.
Okay, I see.
And that's what gives it that extra
And-
extra low end.
And a P3, for example?
A P3 would be a 10 mil film,
Yeah.
and if it's a bass drum head, it has a 10 mil ring. If it's
Yeah.
a snare drum, it has a 3 mil underlay ring.
I see, okay. And that's a single ply head.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the X, the thickest single ply, which is how much again?
14
14 is
mil.
1.4 millimeters.
Not
No.
millimeters. The film is broken down into microns,
Oh, okay, I see.
and it's
That could be, because that would be...
right.
yeah.
Yeah, it would be that would be like 20 millimeters of 1
Right.
inch. That would be a
Right,
really
exactly.
thick drum. That would be a
Yeah.
very thick drum head.
It's like a practice pad,
Yeah.
basically. But we saw some conga heads
Right.
that are
Those are
much.
40 mils thick, and what we do there is
Okay.
we would laminate, say 4 10 mil pieces together.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Those are laminated together.
Those are laminated together. That's where you go in next in graphics is where all that's done.
Oh, I see. Very
Yeah.
interesting.
So we laminate some films, but again, I think it's important to note that, like a lot of other companies, we don't just buy, let's say a window film from a distributor and
Right.
put that into a drum head. The majority of our heads are very specific types of films that we have worked with companies to produce for us.
Right, exactly.
So they're just not off-the-shelf types of films,
Yeah.
and that's why people hear a difference in sound. People say,
Absolutely.
"Well, I tried your 10 mil clear head, and I tried this other company's 10 mil clear head. They look identical, they hold about the same pitch, but it just sounds different. It's
Right.
because the film is different.
Of course.
They all have different types of flex. They all have different hardness. So the film is the basic unit
Of course.
that we.
And material-wise, there would be Mylar or Melanix, for
Yeah,
example.
Melanix is actually, with so many mergers in the old days, it used to be ICI was Melanix. You
Right.
had Mylar, which was DuPont. You
Yeah.
had Teijin, which was a Japanese filmmaker.
Yeah.
The same with the Kevlars. You had Kevlar and Teijin and Toiron and all those
Right, right.
companies. They all used to be different. Now they pretty much merged.
Oh, okay.
DuPont Teijin is now one company in which they're actually owned a lot of the ICI Melanix kinds of
see.
films too. So those are kind of some old names. I mean, some of
I see.
the names and the numbers still prevail, but
What is the difference between the regular Mylar film
yep,
and like a smooth white, for example, like an Emperor
yep.
and a smooth white?
Right. A smooth white is generally, it's like you were saying that word Melanix.
Yeah.
Typically, those properties are a little bit more supple
Yeah.
than you would an A film, which Remo built his sound upon. The
Right.
A film.
Sure.
The A film is such a strong film. It's
Yeah.
just so strong and so durable, and it has a very unique sound, and that's what our coated ambassador will never change because it's tried and true. We don't want to touch it.
Exactly.
If we want to have a different sound, then we look for other films that have different properties.
Right.
Somebody strumming a guitar.
Tom's got 2 computers up too. It makes him look extra busy.
Tom's era,
Hey guys, come in
Anyway,
here. This is a really cool part of the factory here. I recently had some custom heads made here, designed by Tom Zigmund, who's the director of graphics and lamination here at Remo. Good to see you again, Tom.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you, Tom.
Tom made some really awesome custom big drum bonanza drum heads for me last year. So tell us a little bit about what's going on in here.
Well, the first thing I would want to say is that I don't work alone. I have an excellent staff that I work with, so
Yeah.
I can't take credit for all the good stuff that goes in here. Nor can I take credit for all the bad stuff. So,
Good, that's always handy.
But what we did, the graphics department's about 20 years old. I've been here about 20 years. And,
Right.
it started as just a little color copier, and we would laminate paper.
Right.
Since that time, we've changed technologies and printers, and it's now become part of the entire product line. We are able to image virtually any kind of a graphic to
Right.
native films and fabrics that we already were using in the plant.
Right.
So it's fairly easy to make a transition from non-graphic to graphic.
Right.
It takes a little bit of know-how, which we've been working at for a long time and continue to work at.
Right.
But we support the Remo product line, which has a lot of graphics in it, but we also do a lot of custom things like the Tournament of Roses and
Right.
a lot of the bass drum heads for
Bands,
marching groups
marching
and
groups.
colleges and all of that stuff.
Right.
And then of course bands and artists
Sure.
like yourself
Yeah.
to support their tours or,
Yeah.
or whatever your plans are.
Right.
And then we do help out marketing a little bit when they twist our arm enough.
Mhm.
And that's about it.
Wow.
I
Wow.
don't know
Beautiful.
What else would you like to know?
Well, what are the sort of, for all the fans out there in Mike Dolbert, give us maybe some recent bands that you designed
my
some logos
gosh.
or bass drum hits for or something like that.
Oh God, I don't know. You would know better than I would.
Recent bands, we've done everything from. Jeez.
We did Ringo
Motley
Starr.
Crue?
We're doing the Motley Crue.
I just saw some.
I love
Finale
Assistant
one.
Nadia Lucian over there
Yeah.
at her computer.
This is probably the most recent big run that we just did everything for. It was probably for Band Fest, Rose Parade.
Oh, yeah.
The Macy's
But for-
Parade.
What have we done for bands? I mean, there's just so many.
Actually,
of them.
the most recent we're actually selling, or we're not selling, I shouldn't say that. Rush is now selling 4 different 14-inch graphic heads,
Oh,
different
beautiful.
artwork that they're doing on their website.
Right.
By
Yeah.
the merch, but yeah, everything from Rush we've done.
It's funny how you.
Def Leppard.
I don't mean to.
Right.
I don't
You
mean
know.
to trivialize them, but it's like you do
So many.
one and then you go on to the next one.
Of
you go on to
course,
the next
of
one,
course.
and I don't know. Your guys, who is it? Nickelback, who?
We did Nickelback. We've done Guns N' Roses.
Pretty
We've
much
actually done
anything.
Who did we just do the chrome ones for? Those were
Um,
killer. The disco ball one.
That was
Oh.
Def Leppard as well.
Def Leppard.
Def
Wow.
Leppard. That was
Disco
really
ball based drum head?
It's
Oh, yeah.
hilarious.
Oh, that's
They
great.
did
It's
it,
okay.
they did it on chrome, kind of like this.
Yeah.
And-
Oh, beautiful.
I have
So-
a question.
Yeah.
What's your favourite drum head that you've done?
My favorite drum head that I've done. I don't know.
Ah,
I guess I've done a lot of them, but you see, well, part of what we do here is that we get artwork from other people, obviously, like Thomas sent his material, or if we're doing a Michael Jackson tour or some whatever, we're going to get artwork from them, and then we have to manipulate it. Not always are we designing, although we do that. Probably. If I have to come up with one off the top of my head, probably in the djembe line, in the designer series djembe, the Leon Mobley one.
Okay.
I like that a lot. I like the flame djembe. That one was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And if you've seen the new Versa drones, the Carnival Versa
Oh, yeah, we
drone,
just saw them. Beautiful,
I
yeah.
like that one too. I feel that was a successful.
Absolutely. They look gorgeous,
So
yeah.
I'd say those off the top of my head, probably the three.
Yeah.
And then anything with skulls and daggers and bullets,
And
but
burning eagles.
yeah, that kind of stuff.
That's great.
okay.
So anything is possible, right? Pretty much. If you have a
Anything is
decent
possible.
quality
We
graphic file.
Yeah, it has to be a fairly high resolution, particularly if you're going to do something for like Tournament of Roses where they're going to
Right.
put it on 28 inches. You
Sure.
can't take a little piece off the internet and blow it up and
Yeah.
expect it to look good. But medium quality graphics work fine. We're all very comfortable in the Adobe family of products, the
Right.
Photoshop and Illustrator, and we also do some things with some other programs. Me in particular, I like 3D programs.
Oh, yeah.
So we work in Bryce and Poser and Rhino and
Yeah.
Strata 3D and a few others that we may do.
Wow.
If there's something where we want to manipulate 3D images. So
Beautiful.
so it's pretty much wide open. Marketing will come to us and say they want to create a product to place in a certain place, and it's got to have a certain kind of look, and then we go about trying to come up with
Right.
what we think is the right thing. And then of course, the other side of it for us is that we have to then make it a production model, so we
Right.
know how to run it on printers, how to print it in quantities, how to manufacture it, get it through the line to the people that need it in a timely manner and efficient manner and stuff. So,
Right.
so we start right at the graphic and we finish at the end. We do pretty much everything in between graphics and lamination.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
we do about 98% of the work here at Remo.
Wow.
I'm kidding. It's only about 96.
Here we are again. We're back where we started. Thank you, Adam. Awesome tour. Just a little bit of an info of how many heads actually go to the factory. Do you have a number for us here?
Roughly 15,000 a year.
Wow, 15,000 drum heads a day. That's pretty amazing. Wow, awesome. Thank you for the tour. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you the next factory tour.